Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about what we can do to enhance existing code, trying to do some proactive prep for the AP exam because we have to have an open-ended part. And so one of the things you're often asked when you're doing software development and computer science is how can you enhance an existing piece of software or add functionality or features to it. So we're talking about our lovely little debug duck class, the one we're using right here. So we have the idea that we're working with a debug duck. And so when we're talking about that, one of the things we want to really do is we want to talk about how we can actually work with some existing objects. So the first thing we do is we start with some questions. The first question, who needs this? When we're talking about a debug duck, who needs access to this? And this is actually a tool for everybody because you know everyone needs a debug duck. It is one of the most fantastic tools out there. Everybody wants one, everybody needs one. We've got lots, okay? What's inside? So what's inside that debug duck that we want to keep track of? So we've got some existing information. So we have our existing functionality of code that we may have but we want to know what's inside that. So we have to actually look inside that and find some more information out. Ask questions about what's going on. How is it experienced? What do we do with the debug duck? When I have a debug duck, does it just sit there and look cute in my hand? Or do I set it on top of my computer so I can actually ask questions as I'm writing code? Or I put it right here on the keyboard so I can see it, use it as I go through and do my day? What actions does it do? So the debug duck, you think it's an inanimate object, but as we all know, the debug duck is truly an animate creature that we use all the time and provides a lot of resources for us as a developer and as a computer science student. So what actions does it do? Well, it does this, it does that, it answers questions, it listens very carefully, and it provides inspiration. We use this all the time. Great little tool. And are there any supplemental information needed? So we have our existing code base. What do we know about the debug duck already? We've got that wonderful information, but what else do we know about that? Is there anything we need to add to that? Is there something that's not provided? So by looking at these questions right here, we can start developing our beginnings of what can we do to add to this. And so we can create either methods or data members that we can use to actually provide more information about our cute little debug duck object and make it so it's a more functional or more powerful tool. So that's the first thing we want to do. The next step we have is we want to check to see if any of the stuff we're looking for, those questions we just asked ourselves, are any of those questions or those information, are they already provided via specifications? Is it actually already inside the existing object? And so again, we want to take a look at our code base. And we want to look at what's inside that, use the power of looking through the variable method names or the variable names, identifying what the features and functionality provide just by using that decomposition process of identifying what's inside it and how it works. Usually the names itself would be a great clue for that, but sometimes we have to do a little bit deeper dive and look at the specifications, like look at the preconditions or the data that goes along with it, or how the actual application works in practice. Great way to go from there. Are there any rules or protections we have to keep in mind? So our debug duck is this great cute little thing. It's this wonderful little duck. We can use all the stuff. I can turn my debug duck. I can flip my debug duck upside down if my duck likes to be upside down. It's a great thing. We want to think about what kind of rules and protections we actually have to work with because our duck itself is only as good as the thing we know about it. So we use that information and we look at it and so we identify are there any protections we need? Is there data we need to maintain? So of course we keep our data members private, but is there some information we shouldn't be sharing with others? Is there private information inside that should not have a getter or should not be that should not be released to users of that object without, say, for example, supplying a password. And so that's some information we could take a look at. And we look at, say, for example, other real-world objects, there's a lot of information we don't necessarily want to share immediately. And so look at that idea for protection or rules. Think about how it's going to be used in real life and what we can do with that. We want to use our imagination and brainstorm. This is one of those tricks that you learned early on in elementary school, talking about things you do maybe an idea web, put some ideas down, start figuring out what you could do with this and start branching out. Use your ability to use your creative process or looking at deductive processes as well for a more logical approach. How can we actually do things about the cute little debug duck? Oh, it can rotate, it can flip, it can do this, that, the other. Use that process and identify it. Spec it out on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fast or detailed, or excuse me, it doesn't have to have a lot of detail or extra information, but just start putting the ideas so we can actually plan for this and then go from there. Of course we can go for serious for the very first thing. We're in a school classroom. We want to try and actually make this as proper and as ready to go as we can possibly do. So we go serious. Can we report some information? For example, one of the easy things you can use using a system.println is create a histogram or information. You can do a quick little graph using the magic power of for loops and put information right there. So you can actually create something like that. You can also consolidate tasks. Is there a bunch of information, perhaps something that would be best contained inside a .toString method? Oh, we can actually create that. If you don't have it at toString on an existing object, what would be the actual information you want to report inside that? Or is there a process that calls a bunch of existing methods? Like you look at the actual specs of the object, and maybe you need to do a bunch of these methods all the time, and so you can have a method that consolidates all of that doesn't exist already. And again, that's one of the things you can do to get on the serious side. What can you do to actually create objects that work for that? And so that's a great way to start by using a way to enhance existing code and do from there. Of course, this is me. I'm not always serious. I'm usually pretty silly and have a great thing. So you want to go silly with that as well. You want to have a chance to have some fun with this. One of the first things you do is change the color of this. Instead of using a Hello World application, my default application for every language I teach my class is how to change color on something. Whether it's with Swift, Java, C#, we make an app that can change color and do cool things with that. So how can we change the color or the theme of the existing application? And that's a great way we can do it. So I can have it somebody change my color from a magenta duck to a blue duck. Or I could do really cool stuff and make a blue and magenta duck. Yes, I know. Can you make the ducks dance? Or juggle. I can't juggle very well. I haven't juggled in a long time, but no, not going to work. But these are some of the things we could actually do. So we can make it, can the debug duck do the juggle method? Or can we juggle debug ducks? This means it's going to be passed to a helper object with that. But again, what we're talking about right here is how can we enhance an existing class? And so by having some fun, by taking a look at some of the silly things that an object can do, going back over and looking at the serious options that an object can do, looking back at the actual specifications and what's involved with the actual use of the object, and looking at what there is already specified before we try and create new things if it's not already existing, because we don't want to replicate existing work. And finally, starting off with a series of questions. What can we do to actually look at the existing object so we can figure out what we want to do and what we can do better already, or what we can do more with what's already been given to us? And so that's the way we can enhance an existing object and provide a way that this might be something helpful when we're trying to find a way to actually make an object better and create a more creative option for doing something that makes an open-ended option for the AP exam and do some great stuff. Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye.